Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 16th annual Sustainable Business and Design Conference here at FIT. I'm really excited to be in a great opportunity to meet with an FBM alum, Fashion Business Management alum from FIT, Julia Weiner, who's at Closed Loop Partners. And today we're going to have a discussion and talk about her path and what Closed Loop Partners is all about. If you'd like to put in any questions, we'll have the chat open and we'll come back to that. Also, the video will be up shortly. We have to get everything closed captioned, and then we'll have that available up as well to be able to share out later this month. But first, welcome, Julia. It's so nice to meet with you, and it was so fun to get to know you a little bit in our pre-sessions. But tell us a little bit about when you graduated, your time at FIT and in FBM, and how you found your way to Closed Loop Partners.
Sure, and thank you so much, Anne. I echo the sentiment. It's been a pleasure getting to know you and so many of the other kind of organizers of the conference. It's been an absolute pleasure. So my name is Julia Weiner. I graduated from FIT back in 2019, so right before COVID kind of sent us into this new whirlwind of hybrid virtual education. And I'm very fortunate for being able to experience FIT kind of fully in person, and I've spoken to a lot of students since about their experience in virtual. It sounds like pretty similar to my work experience in virtual, and we're all learning as we go.
It's a whole new world to get used to, absolutely.
It's a whole new world, but I think lots of opportunity opening the world up in so many ways to access of information kind of globally, which has been exciting to learn.
I think about that even with this conference. We used to just be in person, and if you couldn't come on April 5th and 6th, then you were out of luck. But now we are able to record these sessions and have them live on. So I know a lot of students will want to hear your thoughts and your path. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Sure. So actually, I'll take a few steps back in terms of kind of what led me to FIT. I think when I was in high school, it's interesting. I originally was planning to go into pre-med, and because I really liked math, I really liked science, and was really good at it. And so my mindset was like, okay, I'll become a doctor. That makes sense, right? And then I made some friends kind of later years of high school who were really creative, into the arts, into film, into fashion, and they really kind of opened up my world to the possibilities. And so I got more and more into fashion and understanding where does, math and science meet the world of fashion. I think a lot of people, when they think about fashion, they think, design is usually where the mind goes to, but there's such a large business behind bringing beautiful product to market. And so that's really what led me to FIT. And so I attended, as you mentioned, I was a part of FBM, or Fashion Business Management.
Julie, I just want to say, though, if I think about what you're saying about math, now we're thinking about data analytics and buying. And so it's interesting, you took a different route, but that there are so many different fashion business opportunities.
I mean, and during my time at Closed Loop, it really opened my mind up to what else is out there and what sort of innovation is underway in terms of accelerating and optimizing our industry that, for quite some time has operated business as usual and wasn't always thinking about how do we optimize processes, rather how do we drive down costs. And I think there's so much work happening, and I'm happy to dive deep into it on the innovation side. But just quickly kind of wrapping up a little bit on my experience at FIT and in FBM. I spent just over 3 years in the FBM program, spending a lot of time in merchandising courses and financial allocation and data analytics, really grinding through Excel spreadsheets, which has, since been something that I spend a lot of time doing as well at Closed
Well,
Loop.
that's also great to hear. Thank you for that Excel plug, Julia.
Yes, yes, of course, of course. And during my time, unfortunately, I wasn't really aware of the robust kind of curriculum that was developing in sustainability at FIT. And so I only ended up taking one course. It was the Psychology for Sustainability course, which was phenomenal. It didn't focus so much on the industry, rather kind of high level thinking about the environmental impact of many industries and thinking about how pollution and toxins and chemicals that are used in the products that we use every single day can influence our neurological health and human health. And then also thinking about the psychology of the climate crisis and the impact it has on mental health and individuals and communities. So it was a really, really incredible experience to
So great to
have
hear.
access to that course.
I wonder if Professor Dan Beckendorf, who I believe that you had, I don't know if he's on this call now. I'm sure he will watch it. If not, if it wasn't already on his radar, it will be now. So I'll let him know. But just to let other people know too, that class is part of the Ethics and Sustainability minor here on campus, and it's the fastest growing minor on campus. It's actually the most number of students come from FBM, so that is also really cool to hear. But it's also interdisciplinary, so classes like that and other liberal arts classes can be applied to the minor, and it's become really exciting to see the growth. It was actually the first interdisciplinary minor as well, so it's cool to see its growth. But so there are other opportunities out there if you're listening and you're a student. I teach FM 326 Sustainability and Fashion Management, which is the in our department, but there's and now it's the required class, so that is also really great to hear. But there's so many other new classes popping up across the campus and trying to integrate all classes in sustainability within the curriculum. All right, so you take one class.
Yeah, I have major FOMO. I wish so badly that I would have known about more of your courses.
Oh, Julia, I'll pass on our required reading book. I'll send you a little present. It's Fashionopolis
I
by
read that book. I love that book by Dana
right? Oh,
Thompson.
good.
Yeah, fantastic book. Uh,
Absolutely.
Great that that's in the curriculum. It's one of my favorite books that speaks to kind of
Yes, that
sustainability
was
for
actually a
industry.
perk of the pandemic too, is the author Dana Thomas actually zoomed into our class from the south of France and joined us for 2 sessions. So yeah, it's amazing.
Fantastic.
All right, keep going.
Okay, I'll keep going. So yeah, I took the Psychology for Sustainability course, and during that time, I was really realizing, I wasn't as interested in pursuing merchandising or planning or wholesale as much as I thought I was when I first entered the program. And so I did some of my own kind of research outside of FIT and outside of school, both through searching for internship and job opportunities, as well as looking to see what resources were online. And I ended up finding an interesting course that was free at the time from the London College of Fashion and Caring Group on a platform called Future Learn, um, which kind of exposed me to certifications and LCAs and material innovation and talking about the different tiers of the supply chain, which are things that I wasn't well versed in kind of in my initial years at FIT, but then later was able to take some of that knowledge and apply it to my coursework kind of at my junior year, senior year level, which was awesome.
But
And
did
so
you take that caring class while you were still an FBM student?
I did, I did. So I was able to balance the double coursework, and it really benefited me. And I think I've spoken kind of in this process to so many different FIT professors um, who have told me there's a robust amount of information in the sustainability curriculum. So definitely, if you're interested in sustainability, explore that curriculum, talk to your counselor. Those are all things that I wish I would have spent more time doing myself. I think I've just been blown away at how sophisticated FIT's sustainability program is, and definitely take advantage of it.
Yes, that sounds great. But I also applaud you for being interested in something and expanding it and finding out ways to get involved and integrate it into. I know, did you do an internship as well?
So I did do an internship, yes. When I was starting my internship search, it was a little bit challenging because I was, looking on LinkedIn, looking on Business of Fashion, looking on the FIT careers site, and finding an entry level position in sustainability was not as easy as I was hoping it would be. And so I did spend a lot of time searching, trying to find the right position, trying to see, what brands were offering, entry level CSR or sustainability kind of opportunities for someone who's, still in school or, kind of wrapping up in school and really trying to find a position to launch their career in sustainability. And it was a challenge. And I ended up getting connected to a woman who had spent about 20 plus years in the apparel industry and working specifically as a fashion director of Barney's. And so she had a really interesting network when it came to emerging talent and design. And she, had stepped away from kind of the industry and decided to create her own consulting firm. And at that time, she was a pioneer, I think, in terms of, recognizing that there's a big shift that needs to happen in sustainability. And so I was lucky enough to get an internship with her, and I spent about a year working at her firm. It was a small firm. There were about
Yeah,
five
so
of us.
that's Julie Giltheart for anyone who's interested and wants to look up her, follow her on Instagram even. She's
Yeah,
a
she's fantastic.
really awesome person to really follow and see where what's going on in the industry. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. It was an incredible experience. I learned so much from her and that team about how to communicate sustainability to the consumers, which I think is probably one of the biggest challenges, especially in, cancel culture and people calling out greenwashing. So it was a really interesting experience working with some of the leading kind of brands at the time in sustainability and in resale um, to to communicate that message to the consumer.
Yeah,
Um,
that's interesting. We talk about marketing practices a lot as one way of how we're getting our businesses getting their message out. And so, yeah, it's a really interesting. What were some of the brands that you worked on with Julie?
So some of the companies that we worked with the Real Real. We worked with. I'm trying to remember what's public information and what's potentially not public
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
information.
I don't want you.
Um,
No worries, no
yeah,
worries.
the Real Real was actually one of our biggest partners, and we helped to launch a series of panels that would happen at their New York-based location and their LA location every couple of weeks, where they would bring different kind of thought leaders in sustainability and thought leaders in kind of emerging design um, to the table to say, to have these kind of candid and open conversations about some of the challenges that exist within the industry in terms of accelerating sustainability and circularity, and also from the design side, talking about what are the challenges of starting a company and speaking to your consumer and differentiating yourself in the market. And so um, I had the great fortune of working with that team and being able to host some of those panels with Julie, which was
Did
fantastic.
you say that you ultimately got that through LinkedIn? Was that right?
That is right. I got that through LinkedIn.
All you
Um,
students need to get on LinkedIn and make sure you're active on there.
Totally, totally get on LinkedIn. It's been, it's an incredible resource to find new opportunities, but it's also an incredible resource to connect with people in your industry, to learn about what is happening. I find, I follow a lot of really interesting kind of entrepreneurs and scientists and business leaders who are focused on, sustainable fashion innovation. And so it's incredible. It's like professional Instagram is how I like to think of it, because I could be on there all day long scrolling and just seeing like what's happening in the world. It's really incredible. So definitely, if you're not on LinkedIn, you should get on LinkedIn. It's a fantastic resource.
I actually got my job at FIT through LinkedIn too, through someone who I'd worked with at a different company, found me and connected me too. So, yes, we're both LinkedIn success stories here. And so that did that ultimately lead to you finding your position at Closed Loop?
So the internship did because my old boss Julie was connected to my new boss Caroline Brown, and through that connection, I was exposed to what was being built at Closed Loop Partners, which at the time it was relatively early stage, and was just beginning to build out a practice for fashion, and so. I like to think that I'm lucky in terms of the timing of everything and when I was able to get connected to the firm. But it definitely takes a lot of hard work as well and persistence and perseverance, especially when you're looking to break into an industry that, isn't super traditional. You're breaking outside of the box a little bit. And so um, it was a very steep learning curve when I first started at Closed Loop. And it was, I at times I felt, do I belong here? Like I went to FIT, like I studied at a fashion trade school. Should I be, involved in venture capital and growth equity and some of these conversations? And definitely suffered a little bit from imposter syndrome and probably still do a little bit today. But I've come to learn what having expertise in fashion and going to FIT and really understanding this extremely complex industry has added so much value, both to my team and to my firm, and ultimately, I hope to the entrepreneurs that we serve and invest in and communicate with every single day. So it's there's
That's so great to hear how your confidence has also through all your classes and through your work experience has really evolved. That is great to hear. I was just in another class and we were talking about luck and is there such thing as luck? And I'd say you were in the right place, you put yourself in the right place at the right time and things really started to align. So did you start pre-pandemic
I
at
did.
Close Loop?
I started 4 months before the pandemic really took hold. And I remember the day perfectly when, we decided, we were closing our office and a lot of people ended up, figuring out where they were going to escape to for the what they thought was going to be 2 weeks and ended up being, many, many months and years ultimately of this new kind of lifestyle that we live.
Yes. So what was your role at Closed Loop and how is it, if you can just walk us through a little bit about Closed Loop and what you do there?
Sure. Yeah. So when I first joined Closed Loop, I was a fashion coordinator. It was kind of that entry level position, kind of getting in at the ground floor and
There was that
understanding.
entry level position you were looking for.
Yes, yes, it was. And my boss was so fantastic in working with me to kind of develop a role. I was really lucky to have, someone there supporting me and wanting to understand what my goals were and wanting to understand how to support me. And so was the entry level position, but we created a roadmap for growth. Like she wanted to help me grow. And so since joining, I am now an associate, which has been, an incredible experience going from fashion coordinator to analyst to associate. It's no easy feat, and it's been an incredible journey. Super steep learning curve, lots of responsibility, lots of time and effort put into it, but ultimately it pays off. So I encourage anyone, if you're
That's
passionate,
great to hear.
work as hard as you can, because you can achieve whatever you want if you put kind of the grit into it. In terms of my role, so as it is today, so I'm a fashion investment associate. For context, Closed Loop Partners is a hybrid investment firm and innovation center focused on accelerating the circular economy. And so that might sound like a crazy concept. It did, at least to me, when I first started at Closed Loop. But when we think about where fashion kind of touches the firm, it's really in two areas of our investment asset classes. And so we have an early stage venture fund, which is looking at companies at a pre-seed and seed level. So that's really early stage. Those are companies that can ultimately be pre-proven use case, pre-revenue, very high risk kind of opportunities as investors. You're really making a bet on team, on market opportunity, on impact potential, especially as investors in circular economy. We like to find innovation that has the highest impact potential as it scales. And then the second area where we consider fashion is in our growth equity fund, which is meeting companies a little bit later stage in their commercial journey. And so these are companies that have a proven use case. They've stabilized their science, technology, service. It's operational on the market. They have existing pilots or are already operating at small commercial scales and are really looking for an infusion of capital to really accelerate the business, scale up, and meet the need of the large brands and retailers in the industry who are looking to implement these technologies within their supply chain. And so I spend my time kind of across these two funds, and it's really interesting, especially having visibility into that early stage venture and watching companies grow up into that Series B, Series C stage, and being able to have that relationship with an entrepreneur kind of early stage and understanding the technical challenges that they face, the CapEx challenges that they face as they continue to grow and scale. And I'm very lucky to do what I do. I think I love being tapped into innovation and having the opportunity to learn something new probably like 20 times a day. I feel like it's constantly like you would just be amazed by what's out there.
Yeah, I can imagine you have so much exposure to the innovations of the future. You measured, you said you talked about measuring impact without giving away too much trade secrets. How are you looking at measuring impact?
Yeah, great question. So we have a team at Closed Loop Partners that manages our impact measurement and due diligence and supports all of the different funds on helping them assess impact for each of the portfolio companies. And so in the case of our investment scope, impact is kind of one of the first gates that we assess and that a company must go through in order to be considered for investment within our firm. And that's across the firm. It doesn't matter if you're venture fund, growth equity, private equity, or project finance. We need to see that those impact metrics being met. And then throughout our due diligence, and for those who aren't familiar with what due diligence is every investment firm has their own process for how they do due diligence. But it's essentially, how do you vet a company? How do you vet the team? How do you vet the technology to make a well-educated bet or investment on that business? And so there's several gates that through that due diligence process, we're considering impact and speaking exclusively with the CEOs and the co-founders of those businesses around, how do you think about impact today? And in an early stage business where, they might be in a lab scale or even like a pilot scale, they might not know all of the answers. And so we as thought leaders in circularity and impact, we help to create a model with those founders that allows them to understand, based on the KPIs that they're using today, around units sold or licenses or different financial KPIs. How can we leverage those to make well-educated decisions about reporting on impact? And so some of the key metrics that we consider in our impact assessment are GHG emissions reduced or carbon emissions reduced, waste diverted from landfill, fresh water saved, and then from a social standpoint, jobs created. And so across the firm, those are four key metrics that we consider, and each fund and honestly, each deal has so many different kind of opportunities to tell that impact story. And so depending on what the business is and what service or product they provide, we're able to kind of build out a robust model that allows us to measure their impact.
Interesting. I remember in our pre-session too, you talked about how your boss also had a background in the fashion industry. So I wonder too if you can speak to a little bit about how your fashion married with her fashion and just interested in the circular economy has really been able to look for businesses that could scale within this current world that we're in.
Absolutely. I think it's important to note that it's not super traditional to have, an operational team leading investments. Usually, what investment firms will do is they'll tap people who come from operational backgrounds for kind of expertise in due diligence processes. And so, for my boss and I, the great thing is that we have been embedded in the industry for such a long time, and it really is what we know. It's in our blood, and it allows us to understand what are the challenges that these early stage entrepreneurs and growth stage entrepreneurs are going to face in kind of scale up, in getting brands to partner and sign JDAs or sign partnership agreements. What are the challenges going to be with getting that product to retrofit into existing infrastructure if we're talking about material innovation? And I think coming from a fashion background and having this robust kind of education at FIT has been extremely valuable. I think it's a complete differentiator, both for myself and I believe for my boss in terms of our kind of understanding of industry as well as access to networks within industry and really being seen as thought leaders for not only circularity, but the intersection of circularity and fashion.
Absolutely. So yes, can you speak a little bit more about specifically about different fashion businesses that you've been working with, or again, without giving away too many trade secrets, but maybe you can share little anecdotal stories.
Sure. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm happy to speak a little bit to some of our active portfolio companies. So these are companies that we've invested in to date. And if you're interested, there's more information about them on the Closed Loop Partners website if you want to, do your own homework
Yes.
and dig a little bit deeper. But I can speak to some of our newest investments. So in that growth equity fund, we recently, within the last, I would say 6 months, closed an investment in a company called Browseware. I think people at FIT might actually be familiar with Browseware because it is a program that's taught in the fashion design department. So anyone who's using it, I'd love to hear your thoughts and feedback on the program. I think
Yeah, I've worked with them too through the DTech lab as well. So yeah, so tell us how that one came to work.
Sure, yeah. So we had decided early on in developing our thesis for fashion at Closed Loop that we would look across the entire fashion vertical and the entire fashion value chain. And so that really started as early as design ideation, which is kind of where we considered tools like Browseware to play a major role in designing products for circularity in mind and designing out waste and designing products that are really like designed for end of life recyclability or designed for,
Yes, we're
their
always saying
next.
design with the end in mind, and here's a company that is able to help facilitate that.
Exactly. And so for those who aren't familiar with Browseware, it's a 3D digital tool SaaS platform. SaaS is software as a service platform that enables stakeholders within the fashion industries, from brands to their manufacturers to their retailers, to leverage 3D design tools for reducing waste, shortening lead times, optimizing product development and distribution and selling of product, all through the creation of 3D samples and 3D product. And so we began looking at this space, I'd say like perhaps even pre-pandemic. We were, excited about where does digital intersect with circularity, and how can we think about these different, metaverse and 3D fit and 3D digital product creation to enable reduction of physical product and reduction of waste in supply chains. And
Yeah,
so
the time and money spent on all the samples and everything. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's through our due diligence process, I think my mind it just was blown numbers of times, just understanding how much waste is created in the sampling process. And so, spent a lot of time getting to know Browseware and getting to know the entire landscape of competitors and different technologies that Browseware is, integrating with. They have an open kind of source API platform. So they have a lot of different digital partners to enable really unique digital experiences that, I think one of the most interesting is kind of enabling fit recommendation and how do we leverage, digital product in an e-commerce experience to recommend how a product will fit you.
Yeah,
Because
which is one
returns
of the
are a
biggest, I mean,
problem.
returns, especially with so much online buying, returns are like, one of our biggest issues in the industry, one of the biggest online issues at the moment. Yeah.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge, huge problem. I would say then thinking about this value chain further, we consider technologies in merchandising. We consider technologies in manufacturing processes, in material science innovation, in transparency enablement, and how do you think about tracking and tracing product in order to understand provenance and also beyond the point of sale of a product? Where does that product go, and how do you have that communication with the consumer? We also invest in B2C companies, so it's not only B2B innovation, but we do consider opportunities in the direct-to-consumer and B2C space in companies that have underlying circular economy technology to enable circular business models. And so what I mean by that is resale models, rental models, swap models. How do we leverage these new unique models that tap into the sharing economy to keep product in play longer, to reduce the amount of new product being consumed and shift over to borrowing or renting versus needing to constantly buy new. We recently closed an investment in a company based in the UK called By Rotation, which is one of the UK's largest peer-to-peer rental companies for fashion. Really excited about this one, really excited about the opportunity for increasing the utilization rate of product. So, rather than wearing something, maybe 2 or 3 times, even if you as the individual only want to wear it 2 or 3 times, because let's say it goes out of style, it's on your Instagram, people already know you wear it. We're all very like trend driven people. Um, there's an opportunity for you to rent that out, make some money, and also keep that product in play longer without, feeling the need to throw it away. And so really excited about that space. And By Rotation is interesting in that they also marry it to a social commerce model. And so leveraging kind of this network effect of, if you follow an influencer on Instagram, you can follow that influencer on Buy Rotation's platform and shop product from their closet rather than feeling like because you saw it on your favorite influencer, you need to go buy it. You can actually borrow it from them, which I think is
Oh,
really.
right. Yeah, that's really interesting. It also seems to me with all of these new business models and innovative companies that there's also a lot more job opportunities that are going to come along with it. I know earlier you said it was hard to find a job in an entry level position, but do you see that this might be changing soon? And why do you think it was that way?
So, yes, I do see it changing, and I'm really excited for the people on the phone who go to FIT to be able to enter the industry at this moment in time, especially if you're interested in sustainability, because I think it is now a topic, and COVID was definitely an accelerator of this, but it's definitely a topic that's high priority within the C-suite and something that every organization is prioritizing in many different ways, whether it's enabling circular business models, whether it's setting roadmaps for biodiversity and regenerative agriculture, or investing in new innovations for recycling and end of life um, recycling of textiles. But I mean, the innovation landscape is so robust, and so there's two sides that you can approach it from. You can definitely go and work with the corporates and work with the brands who are there to accelerate the technology and there to partner and help bring product to market. Or you can go the route of either, founding a company, starting your own business, taking the entrepreneurial route, or joining an early stage company where you can kind of get in at the ground floor and help to scale and have impact and drive change within an organization. I think um, I am just so amazed by what's happening in the world of circular fashion and fashion innovation in general. That I think there's a lot of opportunity out there for students to um, pursue different, maybe non-traditional paths.
Right, right, exactly. And maybe in a few years ago, everything was really top down, and it was really about making sure that we had buy-in at the highest levels of the organization. Now it's trickling down and seeing that in order to make sure all of these are, I was just thinking about regulations that are coming our way and things like that, that we have a different people within the organization at all levels really working towards the same goal and not just at a higher level. So
Absolutely. And it doesn't I see long term that sustainability is not just a department, but it's integrated into every area of the business. And so I think if you think about it through that mindset and you want to be a merchandiser or you want to be a designer or you want to work in product development or textile development or the many different kind of departments within these massive organizations, it shouldn't be the mindset of I need to go and sit on the CSR team in order to have impact. You can have an impact at your department through the work that you do every day.
absolutely. Yeah, I think that's really what's going to stick, right? I even tell my students, I'm so glad that we have a required class in sustainability, but really I hope in 10 years there is no class because it's part of all classes, right? And it's kind of same kind of thing. We don't want a sustainability or CSR department. It really should be integrated. And to your point, the earlier in the process, the better. Ideation, raw materials, everything you spoke about as well. I'm also really struck by what you said about you and your boss's connection to the fashion industry and how you really you're connecting people that are that need what the technologies that you're looking at, and then you have the new innovations. So I think it's a really interesting setup in terms of being able to get the right product to the right people at the right time, all of those different aspects of the business world that are really going to lead to success overall.
Yeah, absolutely. I think brands play a really big role in scaling a lot of this innovation and scaling a lot of these sustainable and circular solutions. And so I think one thing that's unique about closed loop partners that I didn't mention previously is that our firm on the investment side marries corporate capital to institutional capital. And so a lot of our funds have investors from some of the largest CPG companies in the world, including Unilever, Procter and Gamble, um, Amazon, Walmart, Coke, Pepsi, Nestle. So these really large Fortune 500 companies who are in desperate need of innovation to meet the goals that they've set and to meet the commitments that they've set. And we see a very similar sort of structure for fashion as well. And a lot of these brands are making really big commitments and perhaps haven't realized or not kind of fully aware that in order to meet those commitments, there's capital required to make investments and to scale innovation in order to you know to make that impact. And so I think something that's interesting that Closed Loop Partners does is they really bring brands in at the ground floor to not only partner with the portfolio, but to help to finance the investments in order to accelerate and scale those technologies. So it's a really unique structure for sure, and one that I think is really important.
Oh, fascinating. I totally want to come to work with you for a little bit and just do some research for some of your bit brands. We're coming, I can speak to you all day. I thought we would just end a little bit with what you think, and then we'll check the chat. But what is your take on the future of fashion, and any thoughts for students or others listening right now?
Yeah, that's a really big question. My thoughts are that it's a really exciting industry to be in right now. And if you're, I mean, I've definitely seen a lot of things working on the environmental side that have definitely discouraged me in the past. But I think now, through the work that I'm doing at Closed Loop, I have the opportunity to sit down with entrepreneurs every single day and see what they're doing to make a difference and how they're thinking about a more sustainable future for our industry. And it just makes me so excited. It really inspires me. It keeps me hopeful. And I think for all the students on the phone, if sustainability isn't your passion, that's okay. I think understanding, and hopefully it is if you're tuning into the sustainability.
Yeah, just thinking about that.
Um, and if it's not your passion, feel free to message me on LinkedIn. I'm happy to talk anyone into it. I'm extremely passionate, and I think that I'm super hopeful for where the industry is going. And I think this is just phase one of the sustainability conversation. There's going to be so much more, and I'm really excited and really appreciate the opportunity to talk about it today with you.
Yeah, that's so great. I'm so glad we ended on this optimistic note about the future, and obviously you're seeing so much of the innovation firsthand and where we're going to be in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years. Thank you so much for all that. I wanted to, I saw some comments pop up. Oh, there's my chat. This is a great conversation. Thank you, Anne and Julie. Thank you so much. Closed Loop sounds like a wonderful company that encourages growth and moving sustainability forward with the highest level of impact. I appreciate the vetting process to make sure companies have done their work. Absolutely. Yes. And
It's very important. Everyone should be, from the brands to the investors to the companies themselves, should be thinking about due diligence and ensuring that we're scaling up the right sort of innovation, and that's actually having a positive and not a negative environmental impact.
absolutely, right. Lots to consider. Ariel also says, I love the idea of spreading sustainability throughout a company via individual departments. Yes, absolutely. I think we have come a long way. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this too. I remember hearing I won't name the company, but their sustainability person, not department, but reported to the legal department, rather than, the fabric or production or product development or something like that. Have you seen some switches and some realignments, I guess, about this? Or do you obviously have some positive thoughts about this for the future, about not just a CSR department specifically, but overall?
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's really interesting. I had the opportunity to meet with a CEO yesterday of a large kind of global business, and I was just blown away by their breadth of knowledge for sustainable innovation. It's not every day that you have a CEO whose goal is to think about business as it exists today and how to grow and make money and, grow their entire business. That's ultimately the goal. And so to be able to sit down with a CEO and hear from them about their vision for circularity and sustainability was really inspiring because it's obviously trickling outside of the sustainability department to the C-suite, to the people who are making really big decisions in these companies. And so, yeah, I definitely think it's not a boxed in topic. There's a lot of stakeholders in the organization who are starting to get educated on its importance.
Yes, and even as consumers, I always say we vote every day with our dollars. So choosing companies that align with our values, and we can be part of that, part of the change, the positive change as well. And I loved that we ended on there and on and a note of optimism and hope for the future of the fashion industry. I think that we're really there's a lot of excitement about things and how quickly change is going to happen in the next, definitely in the next few years. And again, thank you so much for sharing some of your examples. And Julia, it was so nice getting to know you a bit. I'm going to link in with you as well. And I hope everybody else on the call enjoyed this. And thank you so much. Thanks for being a part of our alumni spotlight and at the sustainability conference.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and always great to come back to my alma mater and
Okay,
have this opportunity.
great. Thank you so much. Be well.
Thanks. Take care. Bye.